Okay, so people are really funny. Excuse me. The things that people do are really funny. And I realized that through having conversations with Smitty over the last couple of years over things like this, I realized that not everybody views this situation the way that I do. So I want to sort of explain, I guess not explain why these situations are the way they are, but just that people feel this way, and like other people who look at other humans like I do notice certain things that they do that I don't think they realize they notice. It's like, I'm going to make a baseball analogy here real quick. Like a pitcher who tucks his arm in before he throws a curveball, and he doesn't realize that he does this, but he does this. And every now and again, a batter will be like, okay, so here comes a curveball. I'm going to take this one out of the park. I am one of those batters who will notice that you tuck your arm every time you throw this curveball. And I am one of these people who realize that when a person sees someone else do something, that they're going to also want to do that thing. And it's really ironic, too, because I was just listening to Your Mom's House podcast. It's Tom Segura and his wife, Christina Pajitsky. And they have a great podcast. Listen to that, by the way. Your Mom's House podcast is really funny. Tom Segura is really funny. Despite all of the things that people said about one of the jokes he made in his stand-up, disgraceful, and a lot of the Down syndrome support community went after him, and I absolutely support all of those people in their decision to do what they did. I absolutely support that. One of my favorite people in the world's child has Down syndrome. Bear down. Love you, buddy. Love you, clockers. And I'm absolutely in support of them. But comedy is different. Comedy is, if you can't, if nothing is safe in comedy, then where is it? But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. Tom Segura and his wife, great podcast, Your Mom's House. Subscribe to that channel, as well as this channel, by the way. Subscribe to Kelsey Hudgens. I'm out here politicking for other people. Listen to me. Anyway, was listening to Joe Rogan on their podcast. This was probably about a year ago. I hadn't listened to that episode yet, and I literally just cut it off to start doing this. And it's really funny. I'd already planned on doing this episode from the other night when this thing that I'm going to talk about in a second went down. And I was listening to their podcast, and they were talking about how it's hard when you go on the road as a comic to do a room with an opener who does crowd work. And for those of you not familiar with crowd work, it's like, for instance, if a comic goes out and says, okay, I see you there, you're wearing board shorts and flip-flops, I believe you do this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm paraphrasing something I heard Rogan say. And then everybody in the crowd, they'll get sloshed up. They'll get a couple drinks. They'll get a couple drinks in them, and they'll be like, okay, well, he's going to call on me next, so I'm going to be prepared for what I'm going to say. And then that time never comes, and the act is done, and then the headliner comes out, and this entire room full of people who are frustrated that their time to speak never came because, of course, it's all about you. Then they're like, okay, well, I'm going to, now it's my turn to heckle the comic. And then Tom Segura responds by saying, yeah. And that's when we say, shut the fuck up. This is not your show. This is not about you. And then you're the dickhead, and you're an asshole in the room. And then you have bad Twitter reviews, and which I know that people go, well, who cares about Twitter? But if you think about it, and I'm one of those people who really likes the old school way of things being done, but the world is moving in a new direction. Like, Twitter is a thing. Like, if you get a bad Twitter review, that can make or break your career. Seriously, I mean, in a bad way, that could make or break your career by what people say about you on social media. And to take that into consideration is not, I don't think that's a negative thing at all. But anyway, you respond by a can of worms that somebody else has opened, and now you have to deal with this. And I say that because people are so funny. When one person, and I'm the world's worst about it, Adam Justice loves to invite people on stage. He loves to do that. And he loves to do that because I'm sure that maybe just like me, you're sitting in a crowd at a gig and I play guitar. I could sing, I could do what that guy's doing up there. And then you walk you walk up to this person or whatever and you're like, "Hey, can I play a song?" And they're like, "No, absolutely not." And then you're like, your feelings get hurt and you're like, "Oh, this person's an asshole. They wouldn't let me play a song." And then add, 20 years to that and I'm like, "Okay, I'm in the same position that guy was in, and I understand now why he would not let me do this." Granted, I understand, and I'm not denying that this person in the crowd might be fantastic. They might be great. They could be better than me. The crowd might have a better time listening to them than listening to me. That's cool. That's not what this is about. I'm sorry, but I'm not trying to be conceited or like controlling or whatever have you, but my name's on the check. My name's on the sign. I'm the one here. You're not. You need to get out and do what I did so that your name can be on that board and your name can be on that sign. Maybe, jumping on the stage with me isn't the thing that's going to get you there. You know what? It could be, but it won't be because I'm not going to allow that. Now, I'd say that so that I can say this. I did an episode. And me and Smitty talked about it it might have been on the episode of Smitty on this podcast, one of the earlier ones. But I remember we did a gig at Boardwalk Billy's in North Myrtle Beach, which we actually have this Friday. My family's going to be in town, so they're all going to be there. It's going to be a good night. This Friday, what's that? Friday the 18th? 16th, probably Friday the 16th. Anyway, going to be at Boardwalk Billy's, and we were doing a gig there, me and Smitty, and the first person who requested a song wrote it on a napkin, and I'm sure you got some of my faithful listeners out there have already figured out where I'm going with this, but they wrote their first request on a napkin, and then every single person who requested a song, minus like 2 or 3 people, wrote their request on a napkin because they saw the first person do that. And I have this thing where as I was saying earlier, I'm the world's worst when it comes to telling people you can't be on the stage, you can't do that. And Adam's like, "Dude, you're such a dick, man. You're such a dick. You should really just let these people play, man. It's not all like." It's not all shitty that these people want to be on stage and you're such a dick about it. And I explained, I'm like, "Dude, I understand I'm being a dick about it, but listen, if I allow that one person to get on stage," and you guys have heard me say this thousands of times, if I let this one person get on stage, every single other person in that room then sees that as an option. Oh, that guy was doing exactly what I was doing, sitting in a crowd. Now he's on stage. That person who's sitting there thinking that this guy who's on stage, this guy could be a singer. He could be a guitar player. He could be anything else. He could be any form of musician or whatever. But now this other person's like, "Okay, well, it's my turn. I can get on stage now. I can do this. I can get up there and do my thing." No, you can't. And I know that you guys are probably sick of hearing me talk about this, but it just becomes an option to everybody else in the room, and then it's no fun anymore for me. And if it's no fun for me, it's not going to be any fun for you because I am the one who's getting paid to entertain you. I'm at work. I'm the one that's got. I can hear my mouth making that dry sound too. Give me a second. Hold on. Nailed it. Anyway, I'm getting paid to entertain you. I'm getting paid to work. I'm at work. I'm doing my job. It's not your job to assist me at mine. And I'm sorry if that offends anybody, but it's just not. And I've made the mistake before of somebody who was a friend of mine who I consider, who I consider close to me or whatever, or a close friend, and I'm like, hey, you want to come up and do this? You want to come up and do this with me? And there's only a few people who have that go ahead. But what in the world? Why is this? You only have a few people in the world who has that go ahead. Yeah, come up on stage. Do this song with us. Parker DeWitt's one of those people. Gary Flowers, one of those people. There's just very few people who I see walk into a room and I'm like, hey, come on up, do the song with us. And I thought that stopped at just, people wanting to get on stage and sing with you and help you out, but it doesn't. And I'm sorry I know the person who this is about could be offended and could possibly hear this, and I'm sorry, I'm going to apologize in advance. But me and Smitty did a duo at Pine Lakes Tavern, the old Droopies in Myrtle Beach the other night, and we're doing really well. We had a crowd of people who were there to actually see us, and it was really cool when that happens. We show up, we're doing our set, we do 3 or 4 songs, and then a guy comes up to me, and he's like, hey, man, you mind if I use the mic in a little bit to say a few things about my brother? And I look at him like really weird for a second, and literally there's like 2 or 3 seconds of downtime, and he's like, who died? And I'm like, you put me in a situation to where immediately I am, I am forming my lips to say absolutely not. And then I hear who died. And I'm like, man, so now I feel obligated to like let this dude say something about his brother who's passed away. And I'm torn in between 2 situations. See, because like I said earlier, I'm being paid to entertain people. I'm being paid to provide entertainment. And when you talk to a room full of drunk people or people who are getting drunk about somebody who died and dropped something real serious on them, that really sucks the air out of a room. But I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, that's fine. You can do that. So I get up, I get done with the song that we're doing. Bo, by the way, he asked me this in the middle of a song. In the middle of a song, he walks up and like it's like between verses, and I'm still strumming and shit, and he's asking me this and totally throws my whole mojo off in the middle of the songs. I'm like, anxiety of like, shit, now I have to do this thing that I do not want to do. I have to allow this person to do something that I do not allow people to do. And it was just nerve-wracking, and I didn't like it. And the guy got up on the mic after I finished the song, and just like everybody else who... Speaking of which, I don't understand that there are people out there who don't use microphones regularly. If you ever get into a situation to where you have to use a microphone, get on the motherfucker. Get on it. Touch it. This one right here, I'm fine because I have this set up and I know exactly where I need to be. If you get onto a microphone, you need to touch the microphone with your lips. I know that's gross, but that's how it works. That's how you get the best volume out of your shit. I don't understand why people don't understand how to do that. This dude's like, how do you not understand that, okay, I was obviously out in the crowd. I heard how loud that guy's voice is. My voice is way less loud than that. So maybe I should get closer to this. How do people not understand how a microphone works? Anyway, I'm sorry about that. Beside the point. The guy gets on the microphone, doesn't know how the microphone works, and is like way back here, and he's like, I just want to, take a moment to sit and talk about it. And then one of my friends in the crowd who was there to see us, turns around and like hushes the entire bar full of people, which is like so weird. First off, it's really weird that this guy is on the mic and that I allowed him to do so. But I have a heart. I felt convicted by this situation, and I wanted to give the dude his opportunity to say whatever he wanted to say. A lot of those people that were in that room were there for that guy. It was a celebration of life or whatever for this guy, and a lot of people were there for it. So I rolled the dice. So he's sitting there. My friend hushed the crowd, and it made it twice as awkward as it already was. And then I'm trying. Then people are like, "We can't hear you," and I'm like, "Hey, get up on the mic, buddy." And he'll like get up and then realize how loud he is, and then back way off. And I'm like, "No, you need to be that loud. The people need to hear you." And I'm trying to say this kindly because the dude's like obviously nervous, and I'm not the most patient person. So I just crank up the volume on the mic, and I'm literally with the whole time. Like if there were video of this, my hands are on the volume knob. My fingers are literally turning the volume knob up and down as this guy. I'm running live sound for him. So he does that, and then I notice that what in the world is it? I noticed that after he finishes that, we're in the middle of our next song. I noticed that shots end up making their way around. So I'm like, okay, this guy bought around the shots for the bar, so that's really cool. So I'm sitting there, and my friend who hushed the crowd comes up to me and she says, I wanted to buy the bar a round of shots because my coworker and my friend died, and I wanted to. And he was like, he had something to do with Maker's Mark, and then I'm like, you got to be shitting me. Like I'm like I know that I have like a moral obligation maybe to feel sympathetic towards these people who passed, and I know that I have that moral obligation. You know, I know that I should honor what these people are saying. And she was like, I just wanted to buy a shot of Maker's Mark for everybody in the bar because of that. And I said, okay. I was like, I'll let them know. And then after the song, and this was also, I'm pretty sure, in the middle of a song while I'm strumming guitar. After the song, I say those shots of Maker's Mark that you guys just had were for another guy who also passed away named Dave, who was who was part of Maker's Mark or whatever. And the girl, and then I looked at her and I was like, you know, pretty much the nod of approval, like did I do what you asked me to do correctly? And then she started to walk up to me and was like, can I say something? And I'm like, sure. Defeated, sure. And I hand her the microphone, and then she says, make some toast about the other guy who passed away that the other dude had talked about to start with, both with the same name, and then talked about her coworker for a second. I mean, it was an awkward situation for me, and I can't help but think that it was an awkward situation for other people in the bar, and I didn't know how to react to what was going on. So we end up doing the rest of the, you know, few songs or whatever, and a guy who was with my friend who was there, who I also know from another place where we play, came up and was like, "Hey man, whenever you get tired, you know, I could step in and take over for you for a specific song," he named. And I was like, man, you know, we don't let nobody on stage, dude. Like, and the thing is I've let this guy on stage before when I was like still drinking, just drunk as shit. I'm pretty sure back in the day, and I let this dude on stage to do this song, and if he hears this, I don't give a shit. We're adults. We'll talk. But it was like I heard the guy singing the song, and I was like, okay, we'll maybe not do this again. But I don't know. He asked me again to do the song, and then after my friend who got up and did the second shout out to someone who's no longer with us at a bar full of drunk people who are not really trying to hear about negative stuff like that. And now I'm not saying anything negative about the people who actually passed away, but I'm also not gonna act like it's okay to walk into a bar and completely change the entire makeup of the room like that. Like, I understand that you and a large group of people are very affected by something that has happened, but that does not bestow upon you the responsibility to make the rest of the room feel the way that you feel. I'm not about that. I'm not about that life, bro. But my friend who came up second after that guy came back up to me and said, while dropping a tip in the tip jar, any way we could get blah, blah, blah up here to sing a song with you guys? And I was like, sweetheart, we're going to be the only ones singing here tonight. And she's like, I respect that, and I respect that so much, I'm going to leave that tip in there, as if like, and I almost wanted to say, no, just take the tip back, because I know that it was just a small bribe for me to try to do something that I don't do. And I don't know, it was just so weird. Like, people are so funny. People are really, really funny. My friend saw that one guy get up on stage and give a shout out to someone in his life who had passed away. And then my friend felt it necessary for her to get up and say something about a friend of hers who had passed away. And then another person who I know and who knows me, and I'm pretty sure knows how I feel about that particular situation, gets up and asks me if he could get on stage and sing a song. And then my friend comes back up with a tip and asks again after I've already said no. And like, people are so funny. Am I the only one that sees this? The reason that this episode exists is, one, because I needed a place to rant and where I'm not judged, which is basically me talking by myself right now. And I'll take the judgment later. I don't care. I'll take the whatever comes later. I'm a big boy. I don't give a shit. But the most hilarious part of this whole situation is that I'm one of the few people who notices that. Like, most other people would just go home and be like, yeah, it was weird at the bar tonight, man. 2 people got up and talked about people that had died in their lives, and it was really strange. You don't really see stuff like that a lot. But I see further than that. I see that one person did that. Another person realized that that was an option, utilized that option, and my hands were tied, because it was like, oh, so you think that me, so you think that person who died is more important than my friend who died and we're friends? Like, so I'm put in an awkward situation with people who are close to me or people who I know well, and I just felt like, I don't know, I was put in an awkward situation. I didn't like it. People are funny, man. People are fucking hilarious. I don't understand. I don't understand the obsession with me. Look at me. Like, I'm here too. It's easy. Like, a person who doesn't need that gratification and that sort of look at me status wouldn't give a shit. They would just say, oh man, that's a bummer. Go over and talk to the guy and be like, hey, here's a shot. I concur with you. Like, I'm with you. Don't bring me into it. The only reason that you brought me into it is because you want everybody else in the bar to look at you for a minute. And the argument could be made that, oh, you play music and you get to set up and you get in front of people, so you don't want people to look at you. I'm like, yes, I want people to look at me, but you know what? If they're not, I'm not going to start doing cartwheels in the corner like a 15-year-old because I want to be looked at. If they don't want to look at me and they don't want anything to do with me, I'm totally fine with being wallpaper. I do so many gigs, like you guys don't understand. I do so many gigs where I don't get a single clap. Like we'll do me and Smitty both. We'll do gigs where we're like 10 songs in and we're like, let's just do what we want to do because none of them give a shit. And we're like, that's fine with me. And we do so many gigs where like nobody looks at us, and I do personally solos like where nobody gives a shit, and it's just me, and I'm just practicing. But I'm not gonna sit there and I'm just gonna sit there and play my songs. I'm not gonna literally start juggling fucking bowling pins so that somebody will look at me. That's unhealthy. That's an unhealthy trait. I don't know, man. I'm blown away by the amount of people who are just not okay with not being the center of attention. And nothing about like it and in the first guy's defense, and I'm really not even ragging on him. Honestly, the other two people that I actually knew were the ones that disappointed me more because they know me. We work in the same industry. We're all in the service industry. They're bar people, and I was just upset by that. But I talked to, I'm sure that the first guy, I'm sure that his group of friends got together and they were like, somebody needs to say something. We're all here for this. And there was a group of 20 or 30 of these guys there. So, it was a large group of people. So I'm sure they all got together and this one dude drew the short straw and had to get up and say something. The dude was nervous, and I really didn't help much because I was kind of like, get on the mic, man. Stay on the mic. Stay on the mic so they can hear you. And I'm sure that doesn't make it easier, but I was just ill at that point because and it wasn't anything to do with the guy. I was ill because I did something that I don't do normally. Like I was disappointed in myself because I stand very strongly against letting people on stage and allowing people to talk to. I don't know. I'm just weird about that. I'm weird about letting people on stage, letting people to talk to my crowd, and I think of it as my crowd, not because I want it to all be about me, but because my fucking name's on the sign. Our name's on the sign. We're the one. The crowd is there for us. I say me. I mean the royal me, the collective. Any time it's my name or Cornbread or American Sound or whatever project I may be fucking with, that's our crowd. They're not necessarily there for us, but we're there for them. We're supposed to make their night or their time spent in this location as enjoyable as possible so that they will spend more money at the place where we are and works out well for everybody. That being said, I can't understand someone not thinking that through. Like, this will throw off the entire mojo of this place. Which obviously these guys aren't bartenders or not musicians or familiar with what that would do to a room, and I can't fault them for that because they don't know. But I was very disappointed in the people that I do know, and pretty unhappy about that. But that's all that happened, and you know what? It probably meant a lot. It probably meant a lot to both of those people to know that they were allowed to do that. And I've got no problem with that. I got no problem at all with that. But just for future reference, tell all of your friends, tell everybody that you know that it's not when you go to a bar, it's really rude. It's really rude to ask if you can get up and do a set or if you can get up and do a song. In the same podcast I was talking about earlier, in Your Mom's House with Joe Rogan, the episode with Joe Rogan, Joe was talking to Tom about how they'll be prompted with somebody who they don't even know. That's like, hey, I see you're coming to Atlanta to do a set. You mind if do you need a guest spot because I do stand up and blah blah blah, and they're like, dude, no. We don't do shit like that. Like, that's not what you do. And Joe Rogan made a really good point by saying that, just so you know, good people do not do that. People who are good at what the thing is that they're talking about or in reference to, they don't do that. A good musician doesn't ask to get on stage and play a song with you. A good musician will not do that. A good comedian will not ask you, "Hey man, can I do an opening set or something?" A good comedian will not do that. A good comic will wait and build a relationship with this person who they're trying to who they want to work with. And given the opportunity, if you hang around long enough, then you're going to end up getting a set because you're friends. That's how this thing works. Put yourself around these people. Don't just sit there and be like, "Hey man, can I do this? Can I do this?" That's fucking annoying. Outside of this podcast, if you want to do this podcast, if you want to talk to me on this podcast, please, by all means, ask me, because this is different. This isn't a stage. This is tell me if you want to do an episode of the podcast. I really want that. I want people to say, "Hey, I'd like to talk about this, or talk about this. Can we do that?" Absolutely. I think I want that to happen. But if I'm on stage somewhere, don't ask me if you can play a song. Don't ask me if you can sing a song. Please don't ask me if you can use the microphone to announce. I mean, if there's all right, that's a gray area if you need to make announcements. A lot of people need to make announcements sometimes, but just know your surroundings, I guess. Know what's going on, man. Just people are funny, and people are really funny. People don't understand. People see one person do something, and now they're like, "Okay, I can do that, so I'm going to do that." Know your surroundings. Know what that does to a room. Just know whatever you're going to do. Like, think ahead a little bit. Put yourself into that situation, project yourself into doing whatever that thing was, and then measure the room. Is the room better or worse than it was when I did that? If the answer isn't better, don't do it. All right. So I got a pretty short episode today. I have been watching a lot of stuff on Netflix ever since I finished Cheers. I've watched The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Awesome show. I watched every episode of that over the course of a couple of days. And I watched the classic It and the new It, like, back to back. Day before yesterday. I think I watched the old one day before yesterday and the new one yesterday. I say back to back, but I have no concept of time. I watched those. Those movies are so damn good. The original It was just so damn scary. It got me. That's probably a lot of the reason why I'm afraid of clowns. And there's a picture of me when I was a kid. I had a birthday party at McDonald's, which happened. That was a thing, by the way. Birthday parties at McDonald's. And, yeah, so there's a picture of me just crying, standing next to Ronald McDonald. I'm pretty sure Ronald McDonald freaked me out as a kid. But anyway, it was just so damn scary. Watch those things if you haven't yet. And I suggest you watch them like in succession, like make it a marathon. Like watch the old one and then watch the new one, just to see the differences. The similarities were, there were some similarities, but I don't know, it was a lot different. The first one, I think, got into your head a little bit more than the new one did. The new one relied on screen stuff to really scare you a lot. I think the old one kind of got into your head a little bit, which I think back then people may have been a little bit more, I don't know, susceptible to having their heads fucked with. Well, man, doesn't matter. We're talking about all kinds of different shit now. Listen to, what is this thing Rayford sent me last night? Rayford King sent me this. Rayford's going to be coming on to do an episode soon. What's this thing called? Cotton Jones. Cotton Jones Blood Red Sentimental Blues. Listen to that on YouTube. It's fucking awesome. Rayford sent me that last night. Also, check this out. If you see my face, if you see this picture right here, if you see the picture of my face, if you see that picture that's in the center of this screen right here, the little circle picture, if you see that on any of my YouTube videos, click it and hit subscribe. At the last 20 seconds of each video, that's going to be coming up with a link to another video. Click the other video as well. But please click the subscribe button on when you see it pop up. Do that. That's the thing that we're going to be adding now. And I'm also cutting the beginnings of these videos off, so you don't have to sit through all the intro bullshit and whatnot. But anyway, I may have talked myself past the end of the music, but who gives a shit? That being said, be good people. Don't be dicks. In a world full of people who just want to be a shitty person, don't be that person. Unless you have to be. I can't tell you what to do. Anyway, is that all I got? Yeah, I think so. Hit subscribe, like the Facebook page, MI Stuff Podcast on Facebook. We have a Twitter now. We have Twitter. MI Stuff Podcast is on Twitter now. Follow us on Twitter. Get us on Patreon. The Patreon page is pinned to the top of the Twitter page. The YouTube page is linked up on our Instagram page. You listen to all this technological shit we talking. You like that? Hell yeah, you do. All right. I got to get out of here. I got to get something to eat. Family's going to be in town all week. I don't know when they're getting in town. I'm going to have to talk to them. Yeah. So, come see us at Boardwalk Billy's on Friday. That's the only one I can remember. I'm pretty sure we start at 6. Maybe 7. I don't know. Wintertime. Probably 6. So, anyway. I'm going to get the fuck out of here. Love you. Mean it. Peace, bitches. Hey, guys. How you living? Are you doing well? Good. Glad to hear that. So, in this episode, I talked about how funny people are, and not necessarily how funny people are. It's just things that people do that are funny to me. And I gave a couple of examples of this. It's funny. I gave a couple of examples of that, I guess. Anyway, I don't even know what I'm saying. What am I talking about? I'm losing it. So a lot of new things happening in the podcast world this week. We have a Twitter. We have a Twitter account now, which is MI Stuff on Twitter. You can literally search MI Stuff on Twitter and hit search, and podcast should come up because that's how I'm finding it from my personal Twitter page. So that's happening. The link to our Patreon page is pinned to the top of the Twitter page. So check that out. Also, I've changed the bio in the Instagram on our Instagram page so that there is a link to our YouTube channel, which I want you to hit subscribe and follow on all of those platforms. Like and follow all of those platforms. Stay up to date with all the information and all the current events and all the shit that's going on the podcast and all the things that we're talking about and guess who we will be having. And I've gotten to the point where I'm not organized. I haven't picked up my date book and shit, I'm looking at it and there's a couple of magazines on top of it. So obviously I've gotten a couple of magazines since I've picked up my date book. So, but I'm going to start actually writing out on specific dates who we've got on the podcast and who's going to be coming in. Got a few that have been rescheduled that we got to get going. We got to get Cam and Gentry back in. Probably going to do another Sweet episode. I'm going to try to get Jeremy and Corinne. Also have to, Noah Byrne and myself have to record a Sunset Grill Halloween episode. That's necessary. That's got to happen soon. I want to be doing some cornbread podcasts as well, since we haven't released the episode in months of that one. That's going to be happening. Also, the Merle's Inlet Mondays, that's going to be happening. I'm going to start pushing that. Actually, I'll do that later on today. I'll get a date set up for that later on today and start pushing that. And I'm going to share that through the Uncle Tito's page and all that shit. But anyway, that's going to be happening. Check that out. It'll be, I think, what's this week's? That will be 2 Mondays from now. And let me see. Anything else? Any other news? Any other things? Yeah, I don't think so. Other than the fact that I have figured out now how to do YouTube edits, like I'm cutting off the beginning of the videos that have the nonsense of when I set up the podcast and everything so that you get to see the behind the scenes of that. The only thing I'm leaving on the videos now are literally my intros that I'm recording here after I finish recording the actual episode. So those are the only things that will be left on the videos. But at the end, the last 20 seconds of the video is going to feature links to subscribe to the channel and to watch another one of the videos on the channel or any video that I decide to put up. So didn't realize I could do that, but I can. So that's the only other thing that's different. All right. So without further ado, episode number 77 of In My Stuff. Enjoy, motherfuckers. All right, guys. Hit the links at the bottom of the page right now. There's a video there. There's a picture of my face. Hit the picture of my face. Subscribe to the channel. Do that. Share it with your friends. Share it with everybody that you love. Share it with everybody that you hate. Share it with everybody. I love you. I really do. Peace, bitches.